In a world filled with chaos, uncertainty, and fleeting distractions, many of us wonder, what is the point of it all? Life can often feel like a vast, empty canvas, and at times, it seems as if no amount of work, achievement, or acquisition can give us that deep sense of fulfillment. Two powerful philosophies have emerged to grapple with this very question: existentialism and nihilism. Both speak to the emptiness we feel, the lack of inherent meaning in life, but they offer drastically different answers. For existentialists, the absence of meaning in life is an invitation, an opportunity to create your own. For nihilists, it's a cold, harsh reality that everything is inherently pointless. But which of these philosophies offers true freedom? Which one empowers us to live a life of purpose in a world that often feels like it's devoid of meaning? In this exploration, we'll take a deep dive into existentialism and nihilism, dissecting their core beliefs, understanding their impact on modern life, and ultimately answering the question, which philosophy provides the most freedom? Imagine you're standing in the middle of an endless, empty desert. There's no horizon, no destination, just the infinite vastness of nothing. This is the essence of nihilism, the belief that life, the universe, and everything in it have no inherent meaning. Everything is temporary, everything is insignificant, and the search for purpose is ultimately futile. Nihilism was famously championed by Friedrich Nietzsche, who said, "God is dead," a phrase that signified the collapse of traditional values and moral systems that had once given life meaning. For Nietzsche, nihilism arose when the world seemed to lose its guiding structures. With the decline of religious belief and objective truth, humanity was left adrift, no longer able to find certainty or meaning in the old ways of thinking. In nihilism, freedom lies in the acceptance of this void. When you realize that nothing has inherent value, you're liberated from the burden of searching for meaning or fulfilling any cosmic expectations. No higher power, no universal truth. It's just you, standing in the void, free to make your own choices, free from the pressures that come with living for something greater. But here's the paradox. This freedom, while liberating in its own way, can also be paralyzing. Nihilism leaves you with no higher purpose to drive you, no clear path forward. If nothing matters, why should you care? Why work toward anything? Nihilism offers freedom, but it's the kind of freedom that might make you question whether you should even bother getting out of bed. Now, let's step into the world of existentialism, where the absence of inherent meaning is not a void to be feared, but an invitation to create something of our own. The existentialists believed that while life itself doesn't come with a predefined purpose, it's in this very absence that our true freedom lies. Jean-Paul Sartre, one of the most influential existentialists, famously stated, "Existence precedes essence." This means that we are born with no inherent meaning, no preordained purpose. Unlike objects, which are created with a specific function in mind, like a spoon made for eating, humans must create their essence through their actions, choices, and experiences. For existentialists, life's lack of meaning is not something to mourn. It's an opportunity. They argue that we are free to define ourselves, to create meaning through the decisions we make. We are not bound by any external blueprint. Instead, we are architects of our own lives. This freedom can be daunting, but it's also exhilarating. Think of it like a blank canvas, where every decision you make adds another stroke of color. The freedom to create your life's meaning, to live authentically and on your own terms, is what existentialism offers. It doesn't promise an easy path, but it does offer the profound freedom of self-creation. However, with this freedom comes a heavy responsibility. Sartre warned of the existential angst that arises when we fully realize our freedom. If we are the architects of our meaning, then it falls on us to constantly create it, every moment of every day. This weight can be overwhelming. You can think of existential angst as a feeling of unease, a recognition that the choices we make define us, and with that, the realization that we could choose wrongly. There's no universal manual for the right way to live. We must continually confront the fact that we have the power and the burden to shape our lives. But existentialists would argue that this very burden is what makes life rich. The struggle for meaning, the constant reinvention of the self. This is the price of freedom, and it's what makes life worth living. The anxiety, the fear of making the wrong choices, it's all part of the journey. While existentialism offers freedom through self-creation, nihilism leaves you in the cold, unfeeling void. Nihilism's truth, that life is meaningless, can lead to a kind of despair. If everything is pointless, how do we justify any action? How do we make any decision? Without purpose or meaning, it's easy to fall into a state of apathy, disillusionment, and hopelessness. Nihilism doesn't leave us with the tools to fight this despair. It's a philosophy that rejects hope, meaning, and even the idea of self-improvement. For some, this might be liberating. They no longer need to worry about a higher purpose or the expectations of others. But for many, it's suffocating. Nihilism leaves a person without a compass, floating in a sea of indifference. So which philosophy offers the most freedom? Nihilism offers a kind of freedom that is free from all constraints. When you accept that nothing has inherent meaning, you're free from the traditional pressures to live up to certain expectations, achieve particular goals, or find some universal truth. But this freedom is not a source of empowerment. It's a source of paralysis. Nihilism leaves you questioning why you should even bother trying. Existentialism, on the other hand, offers freedom through self-creation. It acknowledges the emptiness of life, but transforms it into an opportunity. While it does require courage and responsibility, it also provides a framework for living authentically and creating meaning through action. In existentialism, freedom is not the absence of meaning, but the ability to create your own. In this sense, existentialism provides more practical guidance for living with purpose. It doesn't shy away from the discomfort of freedom. It embraces it, allowing us to become the masters of our own fate. The question of purpose has always haunted humanity. Can we find meaning in a meaningless world? For nihilists, the answer is no. But for existentialists, the answer is yes. Meaning is not something to be discovered. It's something to be created. In a world that often feels purposeless, we each have the power to shape our lives through the choices we make, the goals we set, and the values we create for ourselves. Whether you're an artist, a scientist, a parent, or a philosopher, you are constantly creating meaning through your actions. It's not always easy, and it won't always be perfect. But the beauty of existentialism is that it gives you the freedom to try, to fail, and to try again on your own terms. In the end, both nihilism and existentialism offer profound insights into the human condition. Nihilism's truth that life has no inherent meaning can be a hard pill to swallow, but it also frees us from the need to search for something out there. Existentialism, however, provides a way to navigate this truth by giving us the power to create meaning, even in a world that seems devoid of it. Which philosophy offers the most freedom? Perhaps it's the one that empowers us to take responsibility for our own lives, to choose our own paths, and to create meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. That, in itself, might just be the most liberating philosophy of all.